Kicking off the list at number 10, the Devastator. There's a name right there, okay. Bruce Wayne of Earth 1 made his first appearance in Dark Days, the casting. This Batman is one of Barbados' Dark Knights. Now, he started out the usual Batman way, lost his parents, became Batman, hung out with the Justice League. He actually got along with Superman quite well. He genuinely believed in his ideals of hope. But it is Batman we're talking about. Just because he trusted him doesn't mean he wasn't always prepared. Bruce kept the Doomsday virus just in case. So when Superman did go on and become a little crazy and started killing people, Batman figured, okay, now is the time to use this thing. Bruce first used a kryptonite spear to try and do the trick, but Superman just monologued in his face. Nothing was working. So now it's Doomsday time. The Devastator was born. The virus changed Batman instantly, physically of course, but also mentally. Now he had no problem killing what used to be one of his best friends. Using kryptonite breath, Bruce weakened the god and then finished him with some Doomsday spikes. Nice dark note to start the list off. There we go. Number 9. Multiverse, Bat Baby. In part 1 of this list, we of course had to mention the time Batman was shrunk down to the size of a baby, so naturally in part 2, we need more baby goodness. Dark Knights Death Metal Legends of the Dark Knights issue 1. Bruce has a plan. Now this version was planning on living a second lifetime. More crimes to solve, more risks to break, more bills to pay. The man is committed. Now he had already taken down the Joker, Riddler, Two-Face, and Scarecrow at this time, but he wanted more. After his passing, his mind was safely stored in the cyberspace, and it was then transferred into this new body waiting in the Batcave. This time seems way harder for Bruce. See, in the early issues, he just made little trousers and still continued to fight crime. It was fun, it was almost cute. Here, he was rolling downstairs. He couldn't even walk. He probably his pants, and then he just lays down and cries for the rest of the day. The best part is that he has the mind of Bruce still, so those tears just aren't baby tears. That's pure agony. Now he finally figured out, how to use his legs in life. He gets the jetpack to make up for those tiny legs, and he still goes on saving the day as the guardian of Gotham. And before we continue on with this weird list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up, that would be awesome. It helps us out so much. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get back to the video. Also, thank you for 1.1 million subscribers. That's huge. That was a nice thing to wake up to. Number 8, Red Sun Batman. Superman Red Sun was released in 2003. It earned Mark Millar an Eisner Award nomination in 2004, but he always wondered what life would be like if Superman was raised in the Soviet Union. What a fun idea. So in this story, the ship lands on a Ukrainian collective farm instead of Texas, and as for Bruce Wayne in this reality, well, his parents still end up biting the bullet, but this time it's by Stalin's police force. So his main goal was to get back at that captain of said police force, Roslov. This version of Batman, just look at the attire. How do you not love him off the bat? He kidnapped Wonder Woman, tied her up with her own lasso, rude, and then used her to draw Red Sun Superman out. And of course, it worked like a charm. Using simulated red sunlight, he weakened Superman, locked him in a basement, ideally forever, but Wonder Woman broke free, took care of those red sun lamps, and right before Batman was about to get the beatdown of his life, he detonated a bomb in his own chest. Honestly, I think Red Sun Superman would still be a lot more painful than a chest bomb. Still dark either way.
In its 7, Earth X. Earth X, or Earth 10, Flash was born and raised in a world where Germany won World War II. And since this is a sensitive subject for YouTube, I'm going to avoid using specific terms, so my apologies in advance. While his real name is unknown, Der Blitz, as he's known in German, is the member of the, oh god, I'm going to butcher this, Gretchkidtilga. Oh wait, hold on, that's wrong, I need to yell it. Gretchkidtilga! God, I hate myself for that. Which is basically an evil regime version of the Justice League, also referred to as the JL Axis. The current members are Brunhilde, the Earth 10 Wonder Woman, Leatherwing, Earth 10 Batman, Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Flash, Green Lantern, and Overman, the Superman of Earth 10. This version of the Flash also appears in the Freedom Fighters The Ray animated series that takes place in the Arrowverse, but was interestingly missing from the Crisis on Earth X crossover that featured characters from this show. Instead, this Flash was just Eobard Thawne from Earth 1 wearing Harrison Wells' face, which leads some to believe that Thawne killed the Earth X version of Flash in order to prove himself to the regime. In its 6, SAVITAR. The SAVITAR from the comics is certainly another interesting character, first appearing in Flash Volume 2 number 108 in 1995. The man whose name is still unknown that became SAVITAR was a Cold War test pilot. As he reached top speed in a test flight for a supersonic fighter plane, the plane was struck by lightning and went down in hostile territory. Once he learned about his speed though, he became obsessed and craved more, like any villain does. He named himself after the Hindu god of motion and spent years studying, learning new powers that no other speedster had mastered. He can protect himself in what is in essence a speed force field, give speed to objects and even other people, and heal injuries instantaneously instead of just way faster. As SAVITAR's obsession grew, so did his followers, and he became the leader of basically his own self-worshipping cult. That's the dream. And as he desired more, he went after the only speedster around at the time, Johnny Quick. The fight ended up causing Max Mercury to show up, who led him to the speed field where SAVITAR bounced off. He did at some point return, and instead wanted to eliminate his competition, including the Flash, Impulse, and especially Max. But he ended up dying in the Flash Volume 2 number 111 in 1996. Halfway through into number 5, Capitalist Couriers. First appearing in The Flash Volume 2 number 6 in 1987, the group, originally known as the Red Trinity, was created by Russian scientist Pyotr Orlov, I totally butchered that, when he and his partner attempted to recreate Flash's super speed abilities after watching a daring rescue. The second group of test subjects was successful and were named the Red Trinity. The group included Anatoly, Bebek, and Cassiopeia, and they became agents for the Soviet military. But here is where it gets weird. When the third Flash came to enlist the help of Dr. Orlov in the issue of saving Jerry McGee's life, the Red Trinity chose to follow Orlov to America. While there, they became infatuated with American culture and chose to stay in the US, opening a business as a team of super speed messengers called Capitalist Courier Service Inc. Cassiopeia has since died because he was running up the side of a building trying to make a delivery when his speed vanished and he fell to his death. This was thanks to SAVITAR's reappearance. These Russian speedsters literally made Amazon Super Prime. That's hilarious and I love it. That's probably what I would do with my powers, honestly, now that I've gotten the idea from this. Thank you. In it 4, Silent Running. When your world is described as a paradise, there isn't much that you can think to screw it up. That's because you didn't consider volcanic eruptions blotting out the sun, sending that once paradise into an ice age. When this happened, surviving members of the Holy Light religion went on a pilgrimage to find salvation for their people. The leader of the Holy Light, Stephen Mallory, left his sons behind while he went on his journey. Brian and Tristan were left alone, with Tristan taking his father's place as leader while he was gone, even though Brian was the eldest. However, upon their father's return, Tristan killed him. Then the brothers went out into the world in search of lightning, one of the foundations of their religion. They eventually got struck by lightning, which had an interesting effect. Tristan, the one who killed their father, was aged, while Brian was given super speed and the power to create what they call green life. So Tristan kinda freaked out, locking Brian in the heart of a machine that pushes back the ice to create a livable city, because Tristan believed this was necessary to save everyone, but considered himself a living god of sorts. He demanded people obey his will and use their life force to keep himself young for centuries, all the while trying to be blessed by lightning, which I'm guessing means getting struck by lightning over and over again.
Number 3, Saint Batman. We'll ride the dark multiverse train out a little more, taking a look now at Jean-Paul Valley. The original story took place when Batman got his back by Bane in 1993. Azrael took over for the Bat while Bruce healed up, and then things went back to normal over time. In Tales from the Dark Multiverse, Batman Nightfall, we see a world where Jean-Paul Valley refused to give the cape back. They went at it at the Batcave, and instead of Bruce reclaiming the costume, he got a devastating hit to the spine. And to make matters even worse, Saint Batman kept Bruce alive, just, without any body parts, of course. His physical strength is unmatched. This Batman juices. He uses venom in his suit, so he operates at a superhuman level. The ultimate backbreaker this time. Number 2, Speeding Bullets Batman. This Elseworld storyline shows us a future where Kal-El landed in Gotham and was subsequently adopted by the other Martha Wayne. The Waynes did end up meeting their fate, regardless of the fact that their newly adopted son has laser vision. He didn't realize at the time that he could fire heat rays until right after they had died. I mean, that's fair, trauma does things to the body. After this point, Super Bruce wasn't the same at all. He had the powers of a god, but the hatred of the devil. He was a conflicted man. He would repeat the line, the bullets, the bullets, the bullets, over and over again. He was mentally unstable, obviously. So he hid from the world in his mansion of solitude, and over time, Bruce decided that he should use his powers and just be a hero, instead of hiding. Taking up the identity of the Batman, he would patrol the streets looking for crime, but like I said, he was still a troubled guy. His version of saving the day was burning the flesh off of criminals. Number 1, Thomas Wayne. Coming from the Flashpoint storyline released in 2011, writer Jeff Johns and Andy Kubert brought us Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, when he was actually the one to become Batman. See, in this universe, Bruce Wayne was actually the one who got shot that night in the alley. The world of Flashpoint is this altered reality that Barry accidentally ends up in, where Thomas is older, more brutal, and he's like this evil, dark Batman. And Bruce's mother, Martha, becomes so traumatized by what happens to her son that in this reality she becomes the Joker. So this Batman is very okay with using guns. In fact, he actually prefers it.
Number 10. Wonder Woman Dark Knight's Death Metal. Now, although this is technically in the main continuity, the Wonder Woman that appears in Dark Knight's Death Metal absolutely deserves a spot on this list today because she is one serious badass. Introduced to us in the first issue of Dark Knight's Death Metal, Wonder Woman alongside Swamp Thing is a guard of the demonic-looking prison that holds any villain that does not want to team up with the Batman Who Laughs. So it would kind of seem like she's working for him, but it's revealed later that is not the case when she just impales and rips the Batman Who Laughs in two with her new awesome-looking weapon, the Chainsaw of Truth. Wonder Woman's whole goal in this storyline is to correct the mistakes that have been made and to set everything back on track by somehow resetting the timeline. Basically, she's the Wonder Woman we all know and love, stuck in one of the darkest and scariest DC storylines to date, and that is why she is starting off our list today. Check her out for yourself, starting with 2020's Dark Knight's Death Metal, Volume 1, Number 1. Number 9, Bizarra. You can probably guess it from the name, but Bizarra is the Bizarro version of Wonder Woman. Now, if you're not familiar with Bizarro, he is basically an incomplete clone of Superman, which means that Bizarra is an incomplete clone of Wonder Woman. She was created using the powers of the fifth dimension and is meant to be the evil counterpart to our Wonder Woman, but I think we all know that Bizarro versions of any hero never really get the job done. Even though Bizarra possesses both the bracelets of submission and the lasso of truth like her counterpart, she's only strong enough to challenge Wonder Woman in a one-on-one duel, and when it comes to brains, oh man, trust me, she does not even come close to Wonder Woman. As a member of the Injustice League of Un-America, Bizarro was one of the many that was captured by Metallo in his attempt to rule over Bizarro World, but was thankfully freed by Bizarro himself. Now, I think my favorite thing about Bizarra and the other Bizarro copies is their way of speaking. She spoke in a very twisted tongue and always meant the opposite of what she said. For example, when she says, "I love you," she actually means, "I hate you." Check her out for yourself in 2015's The Multiversity Guidebook, Number 1. Number 8, Brunhilde. Hailing from Earth 10, a universe where many of our favorite heroes have been turned into villainous versions of themselves, comes Valkyrie Brunhilde, the Wonder Woman of this Earth that is based on Norse mythology, as opposed to, the original Greek. On Earth 10, all these superheroes we're familiar with are part of the German army and are believers of fascism, so from that you can probably assume that most of them are pure evil. Brunhilde is a member of the New Reichman alongside other dark iterations of the Justice League members, whose only real goal is to rid the world of the freedom fighters and spread their ideals across the land. The New Reichman are, however, taken down pretty much from the inside after Overman began to feel guilty about his past deeds. Honestly, put simply, Brunhilde is an evil version of Wonder Woman that can and will go to any lengths necessary to get the job done. Give her story a read for yourself, starting with her first appearance in 2015's The Multiversity Guidebook, Number 1.
Number 7, Magic Batman. Superman Batman Sorcerer Kings is a 4-parter written by Cullen Bunn, beginning with Superman Batman issue 81. On the cover we see Batman's tool belt, but this time it's made of elixirs and potions. What's the deal here? So after witches and warlocks tried to sacrifice our sun, things went south and now every electronic was literally vaporized. That means no more TikTok, sorry. The future was looking quite grim. To see Batman punch warlocks and witches in the mouth, at one point he says, "No more hocus pocus." In part 2, Bruce pulls out a whistle, obviously he gets mocked, and then when the Batwing arrives, it's more than useful. The Batwing being a magical dragon, of course. Number 6, Emo Batman. Back in 1999, we got to see one of the moodiest versions of Bruce Wayne. Coming from Elseworld's 80-page giant, he was one of the members of the group the Pennyworths, who was discovered and signed by Lex Luthor. This sounds funny considering the Batman we know and love, but it's still really sad. For example, Lex didn't care about the well-being of who he signed as long as they're making that moolah. And on top of that, Bruce was struggling with substance abuse problems and his last album bombed. It didn't even go gold. How sad is that? So soon after, Lex sold his record label to Darkside Incorporated. Imagine watching Battle of the Bands and emo Bruce Wayne start setting up shop. What a dream show. Number 5, Prohibition Batman. This alternate version of Batman first appeared in Batman Scar of the Bat, but this time it was Elliot Ness. Elliot was a federal agent, and instead of going toe-to-toe with the Joker, Elliot is now trying to bring down Al Capone. Now, of course, this takes place during the Prohibition era in Chicago, and Elliot was part of a team referred to as the Untouchables. I love this alternate version because it's real history that's being played with. Elliot Ness was a real guy who led the Untouchables in 1903. The story is a fun one-off, but Elliot does reappear later on in Teen Titans Volume 3, Issue 31. It's a brief appearance, but he's still out there. I wonder if real-life Elliot Ness ever read DC Comics back in those early days. Him and his Tommy gun reading Batman in a speakeasy? I can see it. Number 4. Batman the Silenced. The original Hush storyline by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee introduces Bruce's childhood friend, Thomas Elliot. Out of jealousy, he tries to take down Batman using the alias Hush, but in Tales from the Dark Multiverse Batman Hush, we see a different life play out this time. When Thomas and Martha Wayne were shot that fateful night, Bruce was of course devastated, but Alfred didn't end up taking him in like normal continuity. Instead, he was taken in by those Elliots. Bruce didn't work through his trauma by fighting crime and saving lives. Instead, he grew more and more unstable from his childhood, so much so that the Elliots transferred him to a mental asylum, while Thomas Elliot grew up to take control over Wayne Industries. Horrible, what a horrible alternate reality. So once Tommy became a senator, he was able to transfer Bruce to Arkham Asylum, where Jonathan Crane would perform these operations. While in there, Alfred sent in Jack Napier as a mole to help Bruce, and Alfred also told Bruce about his parents and what really happened. So Jack was in there to help Bruce get in touch with people who can help him get payback. So he received training in every field from lunatics in Arkham Asylum. He came out talented but tainted after faking his own death. Once free, he went by the name of Batman the Silenced.
Number 3. Superwoman. I feel like we all knew this alternate Wonder Woman was going to end up on this list today. Hailing from Earth 3, the Earth that is said to be the birthplace of evil, Superwoman is a renegade Amazon who is also taking on the identity of Lois Lane, depending on the version that we're talking about here. Depending on her origin, she is either from Paradise Island or its antimatter equivalent known as Damnation Island. While there are many versions of her out there, one thing that they all have in common is her sadistic personality and the love triangle she has with her colleagues. Equipped with a lasso of submission, a barbed and much scary looking version of the lasso of truth that forces the captor to not only comply with the user, but also fall in love with them, which she has used a few times to her advantage, if you know what I mean. As a member of the crime syndicate, she helped imprison most of the members of the various Justice Leagues in the Firestorm Matrix and began a reign of terror over the world, eliminating any resistance in their way. Give her story a read for yourself, starting with 1964's Justice League of America number 29, or skip ahead to 2013's Justice League Volume 2, number 23. Number 2, Injustice Wonder Woman. Easily one of the most dark and evil versions of Wonder Woman out there. Not only did she see Superman's descent into evil before it ever happened, but she also actively encouraged it, practically manipulating the Man of Steel when he was at his worst for her own personal gain. Not only that, but by the events of the original Injustice video game, she had been ruling Paradise Island with an iron fist and showed absolutely no remorse. She served as Superman's right hand and took the place of Lois Lane as his new love interest. However, he clearly showed no love towards her because he was still mourning the loss of his dead wife, who he killed himself. When she is confronted by her mainstream counterpart, the mainstream Wonder Woman reprimands her for blindly following a man who does not feel as much devotion to her as she does to him. And once Wonder Woman is defeated, she is taken by her fellow Amazons to be imprisoned for her role in the regime and is later seen on Kahndaq during the events of Injustice 2 as she has been exiled. Take a look at her story for yourself, starting with 2013's Injustice Gods Among Us number 1, or honestly just feel free to replay the games. And finally, number 1, Flashpoint Wonder Woman. When the Flash accidentally created Flashpoint as a result of attempting to save his mother, the ripple effects changed the timeline to the worst it's ever been. You know, Batman is Thomas Wayne, Superman is in a government facility, and Wonder Woman is the monarch of the Amazons and currently at war with Atlantis, all because she killed Aquaman's wife, who knew Wonder Woman was having an affair with her husband. With all of the normal powers and accessories that make Wonder Woman a formidable foe, this iteration of Wonder Woman seems to lack the empathy that prevents Diana from absolutely losing it and killing everyone. As the war went on, Aquaman and Wonder Woman forged an alliance to take down a mutual enemy, Batman. As both monarchs send their troops to Batman's lair, the world is erased, killing every single inhabitant. Absolutely cruel and bloodthirsty, this Wonder Woman has something that she shares with her Injustice counterpart: her lack of love and above all, her sickening lack of humanity. Now I love the Flashpoint timeline with all of my heart, so why not check it and her out for yourself, starting with 2011's Flashpoint Volume 2, number 1.
And at 10, Future Flash. The Future Flash is certainly an odd character, not due to anything about them, be it physically or otherwise, but because of his motives. The Future Flash is a version of Barry Allen from the future who blamed himself for the death of Wally West. In an effort to correct his mistakes and try to prevent this tragedy, he starts killing enemies to gain enough speed to travel back in time. He starts by killing Gorilla Grodd with a microbomb he phases into his head. Then he eventually kills enough people to travel back to kill one final enemy, himself. His goal this whole time was to travel back to before Wally dies and kill his old self, preventing any of this from happening. At least he thinks. Which honestly is a pretty awful plan if you ask me. Like, I know that it's like, well, alternate timelines or whatever, but if you went back in time and killed yourself, wouldn't you then not be alive in order to go back and kill yourself, thus making it impossible for you to kill a past version of yourself? I mean, you could kill your future self, but not your past one. It just seems odd to me, honestly. Though Future Flash is evidently stopped, he does give Barry a clue about the murder of his mother, saying only one word: Thawne. And at 9, Red Death. Red Death is a speedster version of Batman from the Dark Multiverse, and no, not the Universal one. The Bruce Wayne of Earth 52 started off fighting crime with Robin, but as various Robins kept dying, Batman got darker and darker, becoming more extreme with his methods. This eventually leads him to Barry, who refuses to give Bruce his Speed Force powers. So Batman uses the various rogues' weapons to fight Barry, knocking him out. Once Barry was unconscious, Bruce tied him to the front of a cosmic treadmill-improved Batmobile and drives them both into the Speed Force. When entering the Speed Force, Barry and Bruce end up fusing together into a Batman with super speed, while Barry's mind was trapped in Bruce's body. He then gets a visit from the Batman Who Laughs, who asks him to join Barbados's Dark Knights, whose goal is conquering the multiverse. Eventually, he gets exposed to a large dose of positive energy, which allows Barry Allen to regain control, helping in the fight against the Dark Knights. But the positive energy also kills him, and Red Death explodes into light. Fun. And at 8, Daniel West. First appearing in The Flash Volume 4 number 0 in 2012, Daniel West's mother died while giving birth to him, something that his father never forgave him for. Iris West, as his sister, protected and supported Daniel until he ended up pushing their father down the stairs and crippled him for life. After that incident, due to fear of being shunned by Iris, Daniel fled and became a small-time thug by age 18. When trying to make it to the big times, he was stopped by the Flash and was sent to prison for 5 years. Eventually he got out, but was kidnapped by gorillas and then saved from those gorillas by the Rogues, who then he tried to escape, but got hit with a monorail powered by a Speed Force battery. This is what gave Daniel his speed, although it was dependent on the charge of that battery. So in an effort to go back in time and kill his father to save his relationship with Iris, which is kinda backwards buddy, but you know, you do you, he started killing speedsters to gain enough speed to make the journey. In the end, he was stopped by the Flash, who convinced him to give up his speed. Daniel West is one of the rogues that Future Flash ended up killing in his mission to gain enough speed to, in essence, do the same thing that Daniel wanted to do, except Future Flash was killing himself, not his father. But Daniel officially died in New Suicide Squad Annual number 1 in 2015.
Number 7, Deceased Wonder Woman. Taking place in the Deceased DC universe, Deceased is a miniseries that follows the aftermath of Cyborg's body being used to carry a version of the anti-life equation that ended up turning the general population into zombies. In this miniseries, we see Wonder Woman become a member of the Unliving, which is basically DC's equivalent of zombies, whose whole purpose is to spread anti-life by either infecting or killing living things. They show very little signs of intelligence, and they still retain the ability to utilize their skill sets, powers, and technologies respectively to a surprisingly effective manner. The Infective have also shown numerous times of coming up with very elaborate strategies and tactical decisions to bypass pockets of resistance and cause as much death and destruction as possible. Our infected Wonder Woman actually showed that she was able to form coherent and full sentences when she was interrogated by Cyborg, implying that she still has some humanity left in her. However, after being set free, she immediately decapitated Cyborg to preserve any secrets she told him. Honestly, all I have to say is Wonder Woman's strength and skills combined with the mind and body of a zombie makes for a scary hero. So check her out for yourself, starting with 2019's Deceased, number 1. Number 6, Whom God Destroys Wonder Woman. This version of Wonder Woman only showed up in a 4-issue series called Superman and Wonder Woman Who Gods Destroy. This storyline takes place in an alternate world where Europe is still under the control of the Germans, and Lois Lane actually steps up to the plate as the new Wonder Woman in order to protect those around her from the tyrannical ruling of the original Wonder Woman and Superman. Not a whole lot is known about this evil Wonder Woman other than the fact that she betrayed her home in order to obtain more power. And just like the other evil versions of her, her lack of humanity is incredibly evident as she looks down on Lois Lane's Wonder Woman for just being immortal. The story ends with Lois defeating the evil Wonder Woman, and it is revealed that the gods Zeus and Hera were actually playing a game of chess using the world as their chess pieces. and that's why everything is so messed up. Oddly enough though, the story doesn't quite end there, because once everyone is defeated, everything seems to be pretty much back to normal. Superman, Lois, and Wonder Woman all decide to live together on Superman's fortress on the moon. Check out this miniseries for yourself, starting with 1997 Superman and Wonder Woman, Whom Gods Destroy, number 1. Number 5, Frank Miller's Wonder Woman. Hopefully we all know who Frank Miller is, you know, the writer of The Dark Knight Returns and Daredevil Born Again. Well, Miller also took a crack at the character that is Wonder Woman in his Batman series The Dark Knight Strikes Back. In this series, heroes like Superman, Wonder Woman, and Captain Marvel have been forced to work for the government, since their loved ones are being held hostage and are under threat. Superman is even ordered by the president, who turns out to be a computer-generated front for Lex Luthor and Brainiac, to stop Batman. It eventually gets to the point in the story where Superman, Wonder Woman, and their daughter Lara joins forces with Batman once again because they deem his plan to be the only way to get out of this whole mess. Now I'll be honest, this Wonder Woman isn't on this list today because of how dark the story is. It's mostly because this is considered to be one of the worst incarnations of Wonder Woman to date. Now she's definitely the warrior you expect from Wonder Woman, but her cold and quite frankly sexist portrayal in the comics was nothing short of distasteful. It also doesn't help that her humanity was put in question throughout the entirety of the graphic novel. If you feel like you can stomach it, check out this Wonder Woman and this whole series starting with 2002's The Dark Knight Strikes Again, number 1. Number 4, Wonder Woman God of War. Following 2011's Flashpoint event, DC rebooted the entirety of its continuity into the New 52. In the new Wonder Woman, the story of Hippolyta creating Diana from clay is revealed to actually be a lie, and Diana is actually a child of Zeus, and the whole clay bit was a cover story intended to keep Zeus's jealous wife Hera from killing her. Sometime later during her training, Diana became the secret protege of Ares, the god of war, only to have him drop her when she refused to kill for him. Years later, after Diana learned her true origin, she found herself embroiled in the power struggles of her Olympian kin. In the course of one adventure, she had to kill Ares, which made her the new god of war, and although she fought against the role for a while, as the battle against the monstrous firstborn of Zeus heated up, she stepped right into the job. Honestly, who knows what Wonder Woman creator William Marston would have made of this, given that he wrote her as this force of peace and this nemesis of the god of war. He might be happier with the events in DC Rebirth, which implies that the whole, Diana's New 52 adventures didn't actually happen.
Getting close to the end in number 3, Wizard. This version of the Flash actually comes from the Marvel Universe, believe it or not. And while yes, the speedsters are a superhero archetype now, this one is a deliberate reference to the Flash from an unofficial Justice League vs Avengers crossover fight in the Marvel Universe. The Wizard is a member of the Squadron Supreme, which comes from a parallel dimension of the Marvel Universe. Stanley Stewart is his name, and while running late one night, he ran through a strange fog. Over the next few weeks, he gained the ability to run faster than anyone else. The original goal of the Squadron, which Wizard was a founding member of, was to create a utopia, which they would have accomplished. They turned much of the world into a paradise within the first year, but stopped when a former member, known as Nighthawk, convinced them that it was in essence a dictatorship. Shortly after the project ended, multiple members of the team got stranded in the Marvel Universe, but did end up making it home. Penultimately, in at number 2, No Rules to Follow. In an Elseworld story where metahumans are hated, much like mutants in the Marvel Universe, 10 individuals with superpowers banded together to try and get the world to trust them by doing good deeds. These people, who on other Earths would be known as the Flash, Shark, Fire, Dr. Light, Polaris, Power Girl, Poison Ivy, Tasmanian Devil, Changeling, and Metamorpho. But unfortunately, they didn't accomplish their goal, since their attempts to contain a nuclear meltdown made everything worse. After this disaster, metahumans went into hiding, and a few metas, Flash included, begin raiding military bases that had previously attacked them. But after a battle with the Control Squad, which was a group of high-tech operatives with the Wayne Foundation, created to fight the metahuman menace, caused an even further split, resulting in Ivy, Changeling, and Metamorpho all hating the military even more. But when Superman showed himself after some convincing, Wayne funded a new group, made of the original 10 metas minus those who wanted revenge, and replaced those 3 with Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, and Superman. This new group, which was dedicated to upholding tolerance and justice for humans and metahumans alike, became known as the Justice League. But this version of the Flash also looks like really weird. It looks like if Juggernaut was cosplaying the Flash. Straight up. Finally, in at number 1, the terrific WHATZIT. Last time I talked about the Crash, a turtle from Earth C- that has super speed, but now I bring you an even more ridiculous version, the terrific WHATZIT. Merton McSnurl first appeared in Funny Stuff number 1 in 1944 and was a World War II era hero on Earth C-. He has super speed, super strength, and can fly. And the reason he's called WHATZIT is because in an effort to conceal his identity, wait for it, he takes off his shell turtle when he puts on his costume, so nobody knows that he's a turtle. That's even funnier than the whole like glasses thing for Superman. This version of the Flash even dresses like Jay Garrick with the helmet and everything. I'm not kidding. It's absolutely incredible. I love it so much. His name is McSnurtle. He's McSnurtle the turtle. Hell yeah, baby.